So, what I thought I would come on here and talk about with you today is um, what we're doing when we're doing yoga. I'm thinking of two people in particular in my life who have never really practiced yoga very much. And if they have practiced, they haven't gotten any official instruction. And so they've been curious, what is it that you're doing when you get on your yoga mat and practicing yoga? So, I thought I'd start off by talking about the tempo of yoga. What we often see when we're looking at a yoga class online is a yoga teacher telling you, inhale, do this, exhale, do this, inhale, do this, exhale, do this. Sorry, my brand new computer. I'll make it stop. Um, when you are using a guided class like that, you are taking the rhythm of the teacher and the teacher's pace, right? And so if the teacher says, inhale, do this, exhale, do this, whatever that rhythm that she establishes, you are going to be using that as yours. It's not your rhythm, right? You'll only figure out how fast or slow your inhales and exhales are once you've learned a few little sequences that you can then link together with your breath. The only way to figure out is to do it, is my whole point. So, as you're learning the little sequence that I'm going to teach you, you just think to yourself, I'm learning these moves, and later I'm going to learn more, not only about the form and the technique of these moves, but also about the breath that accompanies these moves. But we all start from a place of basic ignorance, right? So they say, teachers will say, freely breathe. And then they'll give you some very small prompts, like they'll say, put your knee over your ankle, or they'll say, square your hips forward, shine your chest forward, things like that. What they're trying to do is multiple. They're trying to do a couple of 3 or 4 or 12 things at the same time. They're trying to give you a sense of what it feels like to have a metronomic breath rhythm, an inhale and an exhale that's just about the same length. Um, and they're also trying to give you some sense of what it feels like to link that breath with one movement per breath, right? So this is where we get into language, right? Most of the time when you go into a yoga class, you're going to hear the term vinyasa, Vinyasa, vinyasa. This means to connect things. It means to link things together. All right. You can form a vinyasa when you wake up in the morning, and the first thing that you do is the same thing every morning. Let's say you wake up in the morning and your very first action always is to go directly to the coffee pot. Well, if your waking up is linked to going directly to the coffee pot, you have formed a vinyasa. It is a thing that you've linked together in your life that you will repeat again and again. You're practicing something, and it's linking two actions together. So, in the real world, in your real life, you habit stack to get other things into your routine. Let's say you want to drink water. The way that you do that is you link drinking water into your ongoing vinyasa. So let's say you move from the coffee machine to wherever you do next. Somewhere in there, you squeeze in drinking a cup of water and you link it into activities. You sandwich it together between two other things that you are already used to doing. This is exactly the way that vinyasa yoga works. You get this baseline of maybe 5, maybe 10 poses that you become familiar with over time. So if I say warrior 1, you know your hips are supposed to go a kind of way. If I say warrior 2, you know your hips are supposed to go a kind of way. Your arms are supposed to do this kind of thing. Later on, you'll refine how you want your legs to go, what muscles you want to use, how you want to put weight in your feet. That comes incrementally. But initially, you just move toward that concept, right? You're just satisfied with whatever shape that you make, because the initial point is this learning to link breath with movement. the vinyasa. Okay. Once you learn this core group of movements, everything else spins out from there. Like the road that leads to everywhere. Every class basically that you go to will have this grouping, this sequencing of movements. They'll all call it something different: sun salutations, half sun salutations, whatever. For today's focus, I am pretending that everyone who is learning beginning yoga with me today, that none of you can use your arms to bear weight. I'm pretending that we all have shoulder injuries or our wrists have given out for some reason, and none of us can put our full weight into our hands. So I'm doing that for a specific reason. It is because down the road, you're definitely going to be putting your weight into your hands if you do any kind of yoga except for Bikram yoga, the original hot yoga. If you do any other kind of yoga except for like Bikram and Kundalini and maybe Yin, you're going to be putting your weight into your hands and into your upper body. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're not going to go there just yet because it's not about strength. This is not about flexibility. This is not about any of the things that you think yoga is about. I'm going to get more flexible or whatever. This is about learning to make one movement each time you breathe. When you inhale, complete a movement. And when you exhale, complete a movement, even if that movement is to remain still. So it might be that your yoga teacher says, take an inhale and an exhale in this pose. That means hang out in the pose, get a little more comfortable, maybe go a little deeper, get a little more refined. But in your brain, your whole thought should be, I'm inhaling for a long time and now I'm exhaling for a long time. That's your whole thought is, how is my body shaped? Where is my breath? Whenever your thoughts go somewhere else, you bring them back at a very fundamental level to, where is my mind? Where is my breath? Okay, so I'm going to show you in my pajamas what my yoga teacher showed me whenever I got some upper body injury, because she didn't want me to just stop coming to my mat. She wanted me to come to my mat and she wanted me to feel like I was doing yoga. So a lot of times if you get injured, some yoga teachers will give you this lame stuff that's not really very helpful. This still makes me feel like I'm doing yoga, even though I can't use my arms. So the whole purpose of this is to teach you linking breath with movement, right? If you have to take extra breaths, take them. That's kind of the whole point of this, to recognize I'm getting winded. And instead of trying to push through and then taking maybe 2 or 3 breaths to get through a movement, you become super honest with yourself and you say, no, I need to actually just hold this movement and catch my breath. Then I can go to the next posture, asana, pose, whatever you want to call it. All right. So I don't exactly know how my camera is going to work with this. I'm using my laptop for the first time. So I'm just going to kind of back up and see if I can show you right here. Okay. Okay. So you're going to start just standing up on both legs. You're going to lift your arms over your head. You're going to bend at the waist. You're going to come halfway back up with the flat back. You're going to bend at the waist. We're going to do that 2 or 3 times just to kind of invert and come back up. A couple of pieces to keep in mind when you're doing this. When you're lifting your arms above your head, you won't be able to see it in the camera. When you're lifting your arms above your head, you want to lift your arms from underneath your arms. So one way to kind of test this is take your left hand and put it on the little part that kind of dunks down on your right shoulder. When you lift your right shoulder here with your arms, the object is to not move this first, right? So you don't want to do this. That would be moving this first. This, I'm using the muscles that are underneath my arms and in my back to lift my arms. And then maybe at the end, this can come up. But once you get really good at this motion, you can lift your arms all the way above your head with very minimal lifting of what's above your shoulders. So that's just something to keep in mind. Every time you lift your arms, instead of really tensing up at the neck, bring the neck long in the back, but keep the shoulders down, right? The other piece that I'm just giving you 2 technique points because you don't want to get super techniquey right at the beginning because you're asking a lot of yourself. But here's the other techniquey part I'll give you. When we're standing in poses that require your legs be separated, like I'm going to call it warrior, right? It's like a lunge. When your legs are separated, you have some options with your hips. You can let your hips get really kind of, I always call it Beyonce, where your hips are kind of like pointed back, your butt's kind of pointed up, or you can kind of scoop that a little farther forward and be a little more vertical rather than kind of diagonal. And so those are the only 2 technique-y type points that I would mention this early on. What you're actually focused on is taking the deepest breaths that you can and making them a little bit rhythmic, right? So that each inhale and each exhale matches length. All right. So remember in your future, if you want to go back to this lesson, it begins at 11 minutes and 15 seconds. So here we go. So I'm going to stand sideways so you can see. I'm going to take an inhale. I'm going to lift my arms. My belly's going to get big. My chest is going to get big. They call it soft belly breathing, right? Free breathing, soft belly breathing. Inhale, lift your arms any amount. Take a huge breath in. And then when you exhale, bend your knees and let your belly lay onto your thighs. Drop your head all the way down, long neck. Take a couple of breaths there. And when you're there, what you're going to feel is that as you inhale, your belly is going to get, look at that. Your belly is going to get bigger as you inhale because you're filling up, and you'll kind of push away from yourself. Inhale. And then when you exhale, your belly will get smaller so you can drop yourself closer to your legs. Do that one more time. Keep pressing all parts of your feet into the floor here. Take an inhale and lift only as much as you need to let your whole belly get big. Big inhale and exhale. Now we're going to do that one more time. Notice how your back flattens out. Take a big inhale, biggest breath we've taken. See how my back got flat? Now exhale, let it round again. All the way back up. Push your feet down. Lift your arms up from beneath. And then exhale, bring your hands back down in front of you. Okay, so here are a couple things I want to pinpoint about what we've just done. Every time you inhale, your chest and your belly gets much larger. Every time you exhale, your chest and your belly gets smaller. Every time we inhale, we make expansive moves like this. Inhale, opens, opens, opens. Exhales, we close in a little bit, belly to thigh, right? The other thing I wanted to point out is that when your belly is pressed to your thighs, like on your forward fold, which is what that pose is called, every time you inhale and you allow yourself to naturally inflate, your back is going to flatten out a little bit. Your teachers are going to say, inhale, flat back. You don't have to actually do much more than take the biggest breath that is possible for you and maybe press your hands into something like the floor, a block, your shins, your thighs, to give yourself plenty of room for the inhale. But by virtue of inhaling as big as you can, your back's going to flatten out so you don't have to go extra when the teacher says inhale, flat back. If you're doing deep breath, it's going to inhale, flat back, right? Exhale, let your back curve back over, relax your head down, right? So that's the whole first 4 movements of this. Inhale is a lifted arm. Exhale is a forward fold. Your back is curled. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Biggest breath you can makes your back flat. Exhale, let your back curl again, forward fold. Press your feet down, inhale, lift up, look up, and then exhale, stand where you are. It's called a half salute. It's just inhale, lift, exhale, fold, inhale, half, exhale, fold, inhale, lift, exhale, stand. So it's like up, down, half, down, up, down, right? That's called a half salute. I'm going to do it 2 or 3 times right in a row, kind of standing farther back so that you can kind of watch what it is that I'm doing. And I want you to notice the rhythm that I get in with my breath. and maybe get in that rhythm with me. All right. Half salutes. That's what these are called. All right. Inhale, lift my arms. Exhale, fold my body. Inhale, fill up, back will flatten. Exhale, fold my body. All the way up. Inhale, lift from under. Arms beside you, stand tall. That's one half salute. Let's do it 2 more times. Inhale, lift your body from underneath. Exhale, fold the body. Let the head go. C curve the back. Halfway lift, inhale. That gets your back flat on a big inhale. Let your back go C curve, exhale. All the way back up. Inhale from underneath, lift your arms. And exhale, the hands down. We're going to do that 1 more time. Half salute. Inhale, lift your arms from under. Inhale. Full exhale, completely exhale. Keep exhaling. Push a little more out. Relax the neck. Inhale as big as you can. Sip more in. 1 more sip in. 1 more sip in. Exhale. All the air goes out. Push it out till the very last little bit is out. All the way lift. Inhale. Look up. Lift up. Biggest breath yet. Fill up in the belly. And exhale the hands down beside you. Okay, so those are called half salutes. And you can probably still feel it if you're still inside of your breath. That breath starts to lengthen out, right? Neurobiological research and psychosomatic research has all shown that if you can make your exhales longer than your inhales in a mindful kind of ritualistic way, it is meditative. It ratchets down your parasympathetic nervous system, which is like your fight or flight response. It helps you to walk up the polyvagal ladder, which means that you are down regulated and you can feel more safety and social aspects of your life. Lots of reasons to manipulate your breathing. So make it a little longer than it normally is, and make it take up a lot of room inside of your body. You should feel on your inhales that the sticky parts of your belly that don't usually get a lot of movement begin to move. The sticky parts between your lungs, both front, side, and back, begin to expand. Your chest, sometimes even up into the clavicle areas, you'll get a little bit of lift up there at the very last little second, right? Let your breath become a little bit fascinating. And every time you breathe, let it be another chance to take a deeper breath. Okay. So I'm going to expand this 1 more level, and this takes it up a notch, but you don't have to go here if you don't want to. It just takes it up a notch. So this is a half salute B. All right. Half salute B. It gets a little confusing with legs, but the bottom line is it doesn't matter which leg you use first. I'm just going to use the leg that I've been trained to use first, but it doesn't matter which leg you use first, okay? I'm calling this pose Warrior 1, but when you step back, let me show you my legs so it'll look like I'm giving you a booty shot here. When you step back, so we're at the forward fold part, right? When you step back with your left foot, I'm only going to step back maybe 2 feet. It's not going to be too far. So there's a 2-foot step back. My back foot's at a 45-degree angle, so it's pointed at the corner of the room. And my front foot is still aiming forward, knee is over ankle. So that when I stand up, it's actually not that deep of a lunge. I'm not trying to do anything super crazy. It's just a minor little thing. And then from the front, your teacher's going to say, square your hips. It's because a lot of times your hips want to look over here where your back foot is looking. But the point of this stretch is to stretch the front of the hip. So you're actually going to try to kind of pull the standing hip back and shift the left hip forward. All right. So there's your pose. Back foot's on a 45, front foot's aiming directly forward. You're stretching here into your psoas and into your frontal hip. That's Warrior 1, all right? So the whole salute will look like this. You already know part of it. Inhale, lift your arms, take a breath. Exhale, fold your body. Inhale so much you lift halfway up. Exhale, fold your body. Now step your left foot back in space, that 2.5, 3 feet, and square that left foot back at a 45. Bend your right knee over its ankle, freely breathing. When you're ready to inhale again, press down into both feet equally and lift up. Inhale, let the arms come up from beneath. And then exhale, place the fingertips back down and put the feet back together. Exhale, curl the back and release. Come halfway up on the inhale, step the other foot back. It's the right foot this time. Press into both feet equally. Back foot at the 45, left knee over front facing left ankle. Press down into both feet equally. And when you come up, vertical torso, inhale, lifts the arms, take a breath in, and then exhale, bring the feet back together. Curl the back into a C shape. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. All the way back up to the sky. Inhale, shoulders down. Exhale, hands down beside your body. So what I'm doing, I'm adding like a lot of technical inhale halfway, exhale this, inhale halfway. You don't have to go through all that mess. I added those in so that you could see that just that one move, Warrior One, it branches off of this half salute that you've already learned. Once you begin to learn and practice the half salute, which is just the first thing that we did, every other thing in a vinyasa class comes from that. And so if you become comfortable in that, we can begin to add one move at a time quite easily. We added Warrior One, which is the front facing hip with the back foot at a 45-degree angle. Once you learn Warrior One, and you can practice that with a nice tall body, lots of poses come from that space too. So you've kind of got these little anchor points, right? All right. Last thing I'm going to do is just instructional. I'm going to give you the names of these things so that you have them in your brain. When we inhale and lift our arms over our head, it's called upward salute. Most people do not use the Sanskrit. Most studios, except for the word vinyasa and chaturanga, things like that, they might say a few little words, but most of the time not. So upward salute, right? And then the exhale, when you fold your body over, it's called forward fold. The little piece where your back comes, where you inhale so much that your back flattens, it's half forward fold. I always call it flat back or half lift. And then you're back in the fold again. When you step that right or that left foot back, that's Warrior One. Some people use the Sanskrit, but they typically will give you the English first. And then when you come back into the flow, if you are connecting breath and movement, inhaling, lifting your arms, exhaling, folding, inhale, halfway lift, exhale, fold, step your foot back, inhale, lift up to Warrior One, exhale, fold, step your foot forward, step your foot back, inhale, lift. If you're doing that, one breath, one movement, one breath, one movement, that is called the vinyasa. That's what they mean when they say that, right? There's another little sequence that's weight bearing on your arms that is like the standard vinyasa, but you won't understand why you're doing it until you link your breath with these movements, because the vinyasa is just that same concept piece of expanding on inhales and contracting on exhales. The vinyasa always has that. It always expands on inhales and shrinks on exhales. The vinyasa is always metronomic in its breathing. The vinyasa always takes really capacious inhales and exhales that completely deplete that capacity. And so no matter what sequence of movements you're putting to that, you're practicing the concept piece that is the vinyasa. Makes sense? Okay, so I just taught you no particular breathing form whatsoever. There are lots of different ways of breathing, but the initial way to learn to breathe is the biggest breath you can take, soft belly, completely open-hearted, let the breath go where it needs to go, and then later down the line, if you want to approach a pose that is deeply restrictive of your low belly, or if it's a deep twist or something of that nature, we can talk about how to relocate the breath so that you're not so that you can make some more room down in your belly. I do not believe that it's the most important thing straight off. Okay, this was my very first trial of using my laptop for anything. So I hope that it came out. If you have questions, leave them in the comments or send me an email